It is Sunday, which means another recording day for the Auburn Experience podcast. Episode 23 is here. We're going to talk to some of you, the viewers, before and after, and obviously record a brand new edition of this podcast starting now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family. I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, alongside Austin Scott as usual. We will be recording our new episode here in about 10 minutes. But we wanted to start off like we normally do, just talking to you guys, saying hello, hearing what you all have to say. So, Austin, welcome back for another Sunday.
Thanks, Kyle. Yep, it is a Sunday. We're at a little bit of a different time. Yes. I usually don't talk to you until this evening. Actually, I talk to you a lot, but I was about to say. I don't talk to you in person until this evening. But Super Bowl tonight, so that messes everybody's plans up a little bit differently. And so, yeah, we're hopping on a little bit earlier.
Hey, listen, it's just been like the season that we're in with E2C Network stuff right now. I went on vacation. We had the holidays not too long ago, Super Bowl. At some point here, and I feel like I'm going to jinx this, but I feel like we're going to be on a regular schedule pretty much for the rest of the spring and so on. But you never know what life throws you, right? You know, you may decide to go on vacation, all that kind of – I mean, you have a baby coming up or two, so yeah. That could throw some monkey wrenches and things, but we're here. That's all that matters. And we obviously know everybody would rather pay attention to Super Bowl commercials than pay attention to us on Sunday night, and we fully accept that, to be honest.
Absolutely. I love the commercials. That is one of my favorite parts every year. You know, football is football, and I'm a football fan, but the Super Bowl commercials is something that that's one of my favorite parts of the night. And so looking forward to seeing what people come up with. And yeah, we got plenty to talk about on an earlier edition of our podcast today, though.
We do. We're going to get into some of that in just a little bit here. We're going to let Austin kind of hang around if you guys are interested in just talk at the beginning here, because he will need to cut out at the end of our recording, but I will stick around like normal. A couple things you can do for us as we get started tonight. Make sure you smash the like button if you enjoy this type of content. That does help people find us, helps people know that we're live as well. And obviously, start off by checking in, post where you're watching from, your city, your state, international. Let us know you're here, where you're calling from or watching from, not calling, because you can't call into this show. But you never know. Austin, I sometimes I get creative and I'm like, should we let people call into the show sometimes? It could be chaos.
Could be chaos. Could be a lot of fun. Could be chaos too, though. So
when we
one day
when we get to summer and we're like all bored. And we've talked about every single top 10 list, top 5 list. What if this? What when we have done speculating as much as we can, we will probably try new ideas for you guys. Rob's here. War Eagle back in Huntsville, leaving again for Fort Sill. What is Fort Sill? I don't know Fort Sill.
I don't know
tomorrow
where Fort
morning.
Sill is.
I'm holding out hope that Dustbuster calls in one day. One day. Listen, I don't even remember who did that. Like, I can't remember the individual's name. I just remember the epicness that, that ensued. And now forever it is a part of E2C Network history. Like, Clint, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. Clint wants me, when I get the website up and running again, which I keep telling him, me and I talked about that this weekend. He said, you need to, like, make a page dedicated to, yes, the serious history, but, like, even, like, the ridiculous things, like the day that War Dustbuster began. I don't know when that was, but I know it was like early on and when we started doing all these things. So it's an interesting part of our history.
It is.
Super Bowl live stream. So you're asking me to do a Super Bowl live stream? No. Frankly, because I'm not that invested in it. I am invested only to the extent that my Auburn players will have success. And there's a handful, and we'll probably mention those in the podcast, but just in our little potpourri segment. But for me, I just watch it mainly for the commercials. And I mean, it's something we always tune into every year, right?
It's a national event past sports.
Right.
People tune in for commercials. People tune in for halftime. It's just so many things I feel like go beyond football. But we would have to be careful about a Super Bowl live stream. Should we even be calling it that? Should we be saying the big game, Kyle? I don't know. We might get. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, and anybody infringing on any rights.
Wait, is that a thing? Like, are we supposed to be calling it?
You're
the big
not
game?
supposed to say it on the radio because it's trademarked. And so oftentimes, like when you hear people on the radio or DJs saying, we're giving away 2 tickets to the big game this weekend. And like churches, I think it actually started with a church wanting to watch it. Do they? Well, don't say that too loud.
Super Bowl.
I think it started with something of people wanting to show, like have an event and watch it together, but the Super Bowl term was like deemed no. But
no.
I'm being dumb. No one's gonna care about us today.
I don't care. You ban me if you want. If that's the thing that gets me banned, then so be it. Super Bowl. So like I said, we got about 5 minutes till we're going to start here. So you guys, if you have any questions or comments specifically for Austin that you'd like for him to address or talk about, drop those in now because he'll have to head out right at the end of our recording. Rob says, I thought the guys played hard, but the MVP was the kid winning the car. Austin, there's some of these things I want to say for us to talk about when we start recording, but like I always dreamed of watching that moment happen, and I was there and I lived it.
Yeah. I saw it on Twitter and somebody just said he won the car, and I knew what he was talking about. I think I saw it hadn't been since 2014. And
that feels about the right timeline.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it got pulled off. When I was in school, it came really close a bunch of times, and some not so close at all. But it was that's impressive. I hope we hear more about him and his story, and where he's from, and kind of if he's ever golfed or whatever in the coming days. I'm sure he's got some requests to talk.
Oh yeah, I might have to hit him up too, to be honest with you, because that's pretty cool. Aren't there 3 former players tonight? There is Jack Driscoll, Prince Tega Jr., and I think they activated Aaron Sipas, if I've got all 3 of those correct. Does that sound right, Austin?
That sounds right to me, yeah.
So really, I think Sipas was probably activated just so that he could go to the Super Bowl, and he's just a backup. That's my assumption. And then the other 2 are linemen, which means we probably won't really be talking about them a whole lot. There's not like a running back, a wide receiver, a defensive back, the skill position players that get all the hoopla. It doesn't make them more important or less important. It won't be like Cam Newton in the NFL and all the Auburn fans are tuned in to watch what he's going to do. That was a good Super Bowl. That was probably the last Super Bowl that I was super invested in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that I was a sophomore, I think, and there were Cam jerseys abound in Auburn that year.
Yes, they were. They seem to make a reappearance every few years now that he's no longer, I'll say, active in the NFL. I think that's going to become a dying trend, unfortunately, for us. Don't bring up Cam in the Super Bowl. What a disaster for him. Yeah, it was not a good look all the way around for Cam. A lot of people, you remember when people would just dog him about his after the game stuff? Yep. And were you part of that crowd?
No, I remember it being such a talking point that it just got to be monotonous, and it got tiring to me.
I just remember because I was like, do I wish he had handled it differently? Yes, but the dude just lost the only Super Bowl he might ever play in, which proved to be true at this point. And I'm like, don't you think you'd be a little pissed off too? I mean,
well, and it was that, and then there's all the, nobody ever really liked the. And look, I'm not defending. I wouldn't be wearing the way Cam dresses, but no one really liked the outlandish attire or the fashion, and but yeah, I mean, it was a bummer of a game after an incredible year for him, an MVP year. So, it was. Gosh, that feels like a long time ago.
I'd be interested to know the numbers of that Super Bowl, like viewing numbers versus like a year where there's no Auburn people. And I guarantee you the numbers were like significantly higher because we know that we'll follow whoever is attached with us and invest in them.
Yeah. And I think that was Peyton Manning's last game. So I'm sure the numbers were big.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Austin, thank you for reminding me of that. I had completely forgot that was Peyton Manning's last year. So it was kind of like a no-win scenario.
And it was It was a big number, like the 50th, maybe.
Yeah,
It was like a big ordeal.
There was a lot of stuff not working in
Yeah.
the favor of Cam, of many others that night of the Carolina Panthers in general. All right, so we've gotten our pre-Super Bowl talk in. We're going to go ahead and move into our recording space here. Again, a reminder, those of you that may be new, probably won't be interacting with you guys a whole lot during this, but just y'all can hang out with each other, chat about what we're talking about. We'll probably come back at the end and address some of those. I will stay a little bit after. Austin's got to head out. He's got things to attend to. And we'll just go from there. So you're watching a live episode recording, episode 23 of the Auburn Experience podcast. And you can also re-listen to it on traditional podcast apps if you want a double dose of it for some reason. But this is the extra special experience. Austin, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hold on 1 second. Let me get a little sip of water here. You guys get to see the behind the curtains of us like revving ourselves up for all this stuff. All right. In 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. It includes a wide variety of things, peoples, and places, but at its core, it's all about our sports. It is all about our culture. And yes, it is all about our family. And because it's about the Auburn family, we've got to have Auburn family members to do a podcast focused on that. So I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, and joined once again on episode 23 by my co-host, your friend, my friend of everybody, I guess, Mr. Austin Scott. What's going on, sir?
War Eagle Kyle, episode 23, episode Ronnie Brown, episode Kenny Irons, Ryan Davis. A special number for our podcast to make it to in the Auburn world, and happy to be on number 23 with you, sir.
Now you've just got me hyped up for next week. Like this, I mean, no offense to Ronnie, to Ryan Davis, to everybody else, but can we like top, especially after what we've been through this season? Like
that's right.
We should just dedicate next week to Cadillac Williams, even though we already did like 2 episodes where all we did was just gush about how much we love about him. So I'd never thought about it that way. So now you've ruined this for me. I'm never going to be able to not think about it as the Ronnie Brown episode, the Cadillac episode. What happens if and when we get to 100?
Oh man.
What do you call it then?
I don't know. I'll think on that.
Do you start combining players and being like, so if it's 100, 10 and 0, so you got Owen Papo and Bo Nix, like the Nix Papo episode. I mean,
yeah, I guess.
Katie Johnson 0. We could throw him in there. The Psycho episode.
The Psycho episode. We could do the gymnastics. You don't want to score just 100. I don't know. I'll have to think. We got a long way to go before we need to figure that out.
Are problems that we don't have to worry about right now, so we'll just tackle that. I'm going to use my favorite phrase that Jessica loves to remind me that I use a lot. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yes,
it's a very true phrase, though. All right, let's jump into it. Our first segment always is a little Auburn potpourri, just kind of bounced around it. In our main segments, we're going to be talking about. I'm calling it, because this is what it officially called, the Jungle Village, but Pearlville 2.0. Most people are kind of still referencing that. And we're going to talk a little bit about the spring sports, baseball and softball. But for now, let's just kind of jump on some things. I'll start us off tonight. Sucks to lose to your in-state school rival the way we did. Hard-fought game. And, man, it was a really good basketball game that I was so thankful that I got the opportunity to attend. And I was very willing to pay the price that I did to see that basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game that lived up to its billing. College game day in town, kids camping out, lived up to it. Auburn took every punch Alabama had until the last one, and just a pretty similar theme occurred where they just don't have anybody that can close out the game. In the past, there's been, we've talked about the disparity in free throws. We've talked about disparity in calls and things, and none of that was here this weekend. It was all in Auburn's favor, really, with a home crowd and atmosphere, and just couldn't close it out. In the last 3 minutes, Alabama made shots and Auburn did it, and it really showed. So great atmosphere, another great chapter of this rivalry that has kind of been renewed here in the last decade, thanks to Coach Pearl and Alabama having success once again. So bummer it did not go Auburn's way, but it lived up to it, and it's another testament to when you look at just the atmosphere. and the competition. It's another testament to what Bruce Pearl has done with this program and kind of brought it back to life.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself just to see your team show up. So when I continue to talk to people, whether it's here on this show, on our live streams on YouTube, or just in general out in public, that this team is this close to being something really, really special, and they continue to sit that point. But we're running out of time to find that little bit of extra, that they, whoever that is. So I understand fans' trepidation a little bit, and I think you're starting to sense it too, Austin. There's a lot of panic and fear about not making the dance or even a dance at this point because of the way this schedule ends. Do you still think people are being a little bit too rushing on that, or what? Any thoughts on that?
I think people are a little bit too rushed. There's still chances, like we've been saying for Auburn. These next few games are chances that have to be capitalized on. And the SEC, top to bottom, we've talked about is deep. It's a great league, and you can't take any guaranteed wins. However, these next few are ones where you really have a better shot than you've had in the last few weeks. But it's got to start now. Like you said, the ending of the season is going to be big tests. Before you get there in these next couple weeks, you got to take advantage of the opportunities you've been given and put them together enough to string some wins here and then get into the conference tournament. But I understand I don't want to say I understand the panic because I really don't, but I understand the nervousness about all of it and that this isn't what we're used to as of late. But it's still a fun year, and there's still a lot that can happen. I think about, I'm not saying this team is going to go to the Final Four. I'm not saying this team has really I don't think they're the 2019 team, but that team was up and down all the way till that Georgia game, and then they put it all together and went on a run. I think that they don't have quite the individual that Chuma Okeke turned into in that run, or the athletic veteran leadership across the board, but there's still chances for this Auburn team to put it together like that team did late and get going. So we'll see. It's coming quick.
Yeah. Well, speaking of putting it together, how about one student putting it together, just walking up like a boss, not even waiting for the go at halftime. What I'm referencing, folks, is a hole-in-one. Well, it's not a hole-in-one. It's just a one putt. I forget how many feet or yards it was, but essentially the length of the basketball court. This guy walks up, just says nonchalantly, I'm just going to go ahead and putt this thing. And it rolls, and it rolls, and it rolls, and you can sense everybody start standing up, and I'm standing up in my seat in the arena at this point, and it goes through. And what makes it great is he wins a car, but he doesn't even, or he claims, I mean, I obviously don't know the individuals. I don't know if that was just a gimmick or whatever, him saying he didn't have a car, but he claims he didn't have a car. So that makes the story even better. So that's just, you always wanted to see something like that happen. At least I did. It was so awesome to see it happen in person for that big of a game too. It almost like elevated everything a little bit.
Yeah. 94-foot court, so 94-foot putt. Craig Noyes, I just looked up his name. Craig Noyes.
Shout out Craig.
Like he writes for the Plainsman, so congrats to him.
Even better.
And he gets to write his own story. How about that?
Literally.
So good.
You're not a dad yet, Austin. Stop it.
But I mean, amazing. I want to say the last time I saw it was, or the last time someone said that happened was 2014. So almost a decade. We haven't had anybody win that putt. And that, I mean, folks, it's not like the big, you go through the windmill at the mini golf course. It's a small little hole. And he put it straight on it. He put it straight on it. Like Kyle said, really just walked up there without even thinking, got it lined up how he wanted and took a whack at it, and he nailed it. I was thoroughly impressed, and a good day or a good moment for him in a game that ended up not going Auburn's way.
Well, and that's the great thing too, is I think that's how you have to approach that, is that you just have to kind of decide, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to walk up and, not just run up there and just smack it and just not even try. I mean, he clearly walked up, looked down, sized it up, and just said, all right. And then we're rolling. The amazing thing for me is it's on a hardwood court where you've got a hard, obviously, golf ball. It's not really built to like on a golf course where it just rolls consistently. There's going to be a little almost bounces with that as it's going down, just the natural momentum friction. I'm getting the science here, even though we talk about everything here. We're not going to get into the educational side of Auburn yet, but there's some physics to that's not necessarily going to be in the favor of you making that punt. So he does it. He doesn't have a car. He rides for the Plainsmen. Love the story. So shout out to Craig. Lastly, on this segment, I do want to give shout out. It is the eve of the Super Bowl that we're recording this. So by the time most of you maybe are listening on the audio version of this podcast, you already know what happened. Hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. Hope you enjoyed all the commercials and the food and the fun. We want to give a shout out to the Auburn players that will be participating at least on the squads, whether they play or not. This Aaron Sippus, who was just activated by the Eagles, Jack Driscoll on the Eagles, and now Prince Tega Wannago Jr., who was also on the Eagles, but now is on the Kansas City Chiefs. To me, it feels like it's been every year we've had a representative of Auburn in the Super Bowl in some way or another. I mean, I can't think of, unless you can, Austin, think of the last one we haven't had.
No, I'd have to look it up. And I know we see the streaks of how long a school has had, and Auburn's not to that level of like 30 years or something. But there seems to be somebody Auburn people can find to pull behind each year. And This year it's these three guys, and Kyle and I were mentioning it a little pregame. These guys are not the skill positions there's certainly plenty of skill on the offensive line and special teams, but we won't likely hear their name a ton tonight. But one of them, or perhaps two of them, will get to say they're Super Bowl champions after tonight. So best of luck to each of them and their teams, and should be a fun night. And I'm just hoping Auburn's represented in a commercial somehow, Kyle. I don't know how. I feel like one year it was a car commercial maybe, and they were just pulling stadium footage, and Jordan Hare was there. And I was like, that's good enough for me. So I'm hoping somewhere in there.
There's always an Apple commercial. So in some way, we're always represented with Tim Cook.
Fair enough. I'm in on that.
Let's talk about Pearlville 2.0, even though that's not what we're supposed to call it, even though that's not what Coach Pearl would like us to discuss it as. It was, at least by the organization, the powers, I don't like to say the powers that be, that makes it seem nefarious. Those that organized this year, which this is what we're going to talk about in this segment, is how personally I got to experience. It was a great thing. They wanted it to be called Jungle Village officially, even had the hashtag up on a big video screen and stuff. So I quickly shifted gears. When I made my initial post when we arrived, I said something like, "We've arrived, Pearlville 2.0, Tent City, whatever you want to call it. We're here and live." Got the shout out from Bruce Pearl too on that, which was a humongous shock. That's not, I always appreciate it when the coaches acknowledge stuff like that, but that's not what I thought would be the thing that he latched on to.
Yeah.
Maybe because I brought up the Pearlville thing. So I hope that's not the reason why. But I no longer called it that officially on our posts and stuff at that point. But Jungle City, the second iteration of this occurring, obviously this time being more planned, expected, less organic in that how last year evolved. We have, I feel like it was maybe 3 episodes, Austin, ago. Does that feel right to you when we talked about
it? We talked about it on the year before. It might have been 2. I'm not sure. It's very recent though.
So within the last 2 or 3 episodes, we spent a good amount just kind of reliving that again and talking about, I think it was 2 episodes. Now that we're thinking about 2 episodes, so that'd be 21. So go check that out. A whole segment we just spent kind of reminiscing about that. So this year I couldn't miss it and experience it again. Obviously I was there just to document, not really to partake in obviously the food and stuff like that. But although I wanted to, because there was a lot of food being handed out, a lot of good food.
I believe it.
But I just want to give a shout out to everyone that I can think of that I know was involved in some way in this. And I'm going to not do justice to everyone and every organization that helped create this event. But, obviously Bruce Pearl for inspiring all of, creating the atmosphere to want to do stuff like this. I think Rhett Hobart, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name, but was it Associate AD? I forget his official title, but for external affairs, essentially this is kind of his purview, and I saw him a lot out there. I'll give a shout out to Michael Floyd, Vice President of the Jungle. the whole jungle leadership team, they did an outstanding, whoever was involved in pulling this off this year, knocked it out of the park. Organized, fun stuff, organic stuff still was allowed to happen. It was less Woodstocky with still a Woodstock feel. So my hat is off to everybody, students too, that were involved and participated in this. And again, what was ironic, last year we dealt with the cold, Austin, and there was coolness this year, but there was a threat of rain the entire weekend. And somehow, some way, it held off until the last possible minute. I mean, raindrops started coming down the morning of, but it was never bad rain. But as soon as like the students got in, college game day got started, that's when the real rain started to arrive. And so it was almost like you get to have this. Like it somehow held off. It was a beautiful thing to watch, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. Your thoughts and impressions from what you were able to see from afar?
Yeah, we talked about from a year ago kind of my role and very small role in things of just delivering donuts, delivering hand warmers, because it was way colder, way less organized. And I even saw someone say there was less anarchy this year with Jungle Village. And I think that is a great way to put it, because it came apart it came about last year.
And came apart in some ways, in some areas.
Apart on a spur of a moment. And this year it was definitely planned for, prepared for. And I think while we loved the story of how it came about last year and everything that went with it, I think this is more sustainable now.
Yes.
With this year. And I even love the way that, I did not go out there this year. I did not get to see it with my own eyes. Saw a lot of E2C's coverage of it. Saw a lot of, like you said, Rhett Hobart and the Auburn Athletics staff pictures and videos and things, but loved how they, made the line distinct for tents and distinct for gymnastics. And I thought one of the biggest things last year was that grassy area in the middle, where I think there was a video board this year. Yes, I mean, it was just a mud pit by Friday afternoon at 3:00 last year. And this year that was kind of off limits. And another part that Auburn, students caught a lot of flack on last year is the amount of trash that was left over. Saw a lot more trash cans, a lot more signage that said, hey, let's clean up when we're done here. And so, yeah, I think it's more sustainable now that we've got some plans in place, and it didn't necessarily take away from, we want students to do this. We think this is a fun thing. It's unique to Auburn basketball and camping out, and something that hasn't been done in the past with Auburn athletics. And we want to keep it going, but we got to have some guidelines, which is totally fair.
Right.
I'm excited for, future iterations of it. I think that there's more to be improved. And with each SGA class or each Auburn Jungle leadership team, and as Auburn athletics gets new staff members, we'll have new ideas to improve and continue to make it even better. So hats off, like you said, to everybody a part of it this year. Looks like it went off with a smashing hit, and can't wait to see it again next year.
The thing that blew my mind was, so just to clarify, the green space wasn't off limits. It was just off limits to camping, because that's where they had a giant screen that had a movie night, showed Top Gun Maverick, and still someone brought a couch out there to, it wasn't a real, legit couch like happened last time. It was like one of these, you can literally pick up one person with your hand and kind of throw it around, even though it's that big. It's a light thing. It's meant to be moved around. So that was cool, watching that kind of, organic, like people gathering together and bringing couches, bringing their own food, like popcorn and stuff like that. And then somebody from, I think it's the group, I don't know their official title, but the esports, Auburn Esports group of people that love gaming and stuff, they set out a tent with 2 screens back to back. Apparently some of the players came out and played games with them too.
How about that?
That was really cool to see. People were stringing lights on their tents. When I saw it, someone do that on their tent. And by the way, I've got a vlog video that we're going to be releasing, and maybe I've already released by the time you're listening to this episode, on the channel. So please come check it out. It's got full everything that happened from when I arrived Friday afternoon, and even a little bit of extra because I went to baseball practice and things like that. But basically the whole weekend, what this was kind of covered, and you can even go see a full video with Hugh Freeze addressing the students, which was a really funny thing to do. It's just a cool thing to see this actually start taking place. With the other coaches too. I just enjoyed the heck out of this thing. I didn't think I'd be blown away by a giant screen in the middle of the green space, but like the fact that that was there to entertain, to play music, to give instructions and promote things. They had Bruce Pearl's Outlive Cancer, QR code that you could scan to go donate and stuff. They had the times for when coaches were appearing, when movie night was starting, when the gates are opening, when gymnastics was being let in. Like everything was so planned out. Don't, it's not like you said, signage. Don't set your tent up on the walkway. The line continues past the walkway over on this side. And then, obviously they had security out there just to kind of watch. So hats off to the security people that probably had to sit all night and watch to make sure we didn't evolve into Woodstock again this time. It was just cool. It was not as organic, right? But it was no less special. Yeah. And my hope, what I would love to see, and I don't know if there's any way to pull this off, is somehow, some way there'd be like a way to set up shade structures for these situations with rain and stuff. So you can still set your tent up, but it's maybe for those that want to just get in line and wait and stuff like that. So they're not getting soaked, because we got lucky this year because it said rain, Noah's flood's coming, and it did after the game. Let me tell you that. But I mean, is there anything else that you can think that they should do maybe to improve upon this? Because I can't think of much.
No, it was talked about a little bit after last year, and I think it kind of evolved into this. Let's just organize it better with what we have, but changing that space to be more suitable for that and lines and everything. It is a congested space with the village housing right there and village dining, but besides just completely doing a massive overhaul, which I wouldn't be surprised to see the landscape of that area change, in the near future anyway. But I thought it was done well with the space they had and the ideas that were brought out. And I look forward to seeing how it evolves. Like we said, I'm glad you touched on it a little bit, but I was just glad to see kind of a similar turnout by other coaches of other sports out there.
And players too, and organizations, players. They did this well last year, but yes, a lot of people showed up to support in some way.
Yes. And a lot of food was, either catered in or brought in by areas in the community. And it truly has become an entire Auburn event, not just the city or not just the university, but the city and all those who want to check it out and see it and be a part of it in either a small way or a big way. So I thought it was fantastic. I'd be interested to know how much sleep someone actually got comfortably.
More than last year.
I would think more than last year. Yep. And they were showing, I guess you were at the game, so you didn't see it. So they were showing during halftime, maybe of another game. But there were some in between before game day started, the hour before, some were getting some naps in before game day started.
Yes.
And they were all leaned up on each other, and hey, I don't blame them. You get your sleep in and get ready for the game if you can. But I'm excited to see where it goes from here, and hopefully it's a tradition that is gradually improved on and continues to be better and better every year.
Here's one area, or I guess it's not in one area, but just something that I'd like to see, because I think what we did in terms of organization, providing for the students, was great this year, and obviously they'll expand on that. This is what I've been asking to happen at least one time during the winter and you kind of see it naturally happen with gymnastics on Friday night, in a basketball game, usually a men's basketball game on Saturday. I hope that we can somehow incorporate a women's basketball game before, after, whatever, as part of that on the Saturday, not the Sunday. I know that there's things outside of my control, anybody's control for that, but almost like create a game day, a football game day type of atmosphere where people are encouraged to come bring their RVs out there and then have like a pep rally out there in the middle, in between events or something like that. Like, I would just like to see that game day experience that we have on football where everybody wants to be a part of it, even if it's just, for a few hours the night before. Let's do that again. So that would be, we've got the students being taken care of now. How can we make others feel like they can come to town and have a good time here for a weekend during the winter when football's not even going on? So that'd be my one caveat and my one addition, but otherwise a great iteration of Pearlville 2.0, but now called the Jungle Village. It's springtime, Austin. It is time to talk about the spring sports. Some have just started. Some have technically already been going because the spring technically starts in January, even though it's nowhere near springtime, even in the South. But because we are right now, when we're recording this, stuck in the middle of the start time for softball and the start time for baseball, the diamond sport, as I like to call them, I thought it'd be appropriate for us to just talk about it a little bit. There's also some news that kind of came out today in relation to both teams getting some new looks and things like that. So it just felt kind of appropriate for us maybe to give our thoughts, the preview to the season. I'm sure going to be talking a lot about both teams throughout the spring, as we've kind of done with football and basketball when they're most prominent at that time. But spring has arrived, at least in sports scheduling. Softball has begun. Baseball is just a few days away. Your thoughts? Are you excited? What you thinking about with the diamond sports?
Yeah, great start to the season this past weekend for softball. A 4-1 start in some sounded like pretty rainy weather as well down in Clearwater, Florida. Played multiple different teams and came out looking pretty good. Scored a lot of runs, which is something that Auburn softball fans are hoping to get back to. And then, like you mentioned, we're coming up this Friday is opening day for Auburn baseball at Plainsman Park. Tons of people excited about this baseball team and hopefully getting back to Omaha again, despite having been at Omaha, two of the last, help me out, Kyle, 2 of the last 3 years. There's COVID year in there, so I'm being mixed up. 2 of the last 5.
You put me on the spot. Now I can't. I'm not good at thinking on the spot.
But tons of success, whether it be a super regional or
Omaha.
I know, super regional or Omaha, that has, everyone loves Butch Thompson. And now this team is getting hardly any love in the preseason polls, despite him proving over and over that he can take this team to deep
locker room material right there. That's bulletin board material.
And I'm sure Coach Thompson loves it and can't wait to use it. But the season starts Friday, and usually we end up seeing, a school maybe we've never even heard of play. But we've got Indiana coming in, so it's 2 Power 5 conferences to start the year. I'm sure people will be out in full force. Hopefully we've got some good weather next weekend. But it's baseball season and the diamond sports season, as you said, Kyle. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that, while we hope that things kind of correct ourselves in the basketball world, that we have another avenue of Auburn joy if we should need it. And I'm glad this is the time when crossover happens that everything starts getting pretty wild. So
the SIDs, man, the SIDs got
superheroes.
And it's already happening. It's been happening since January started. Just the cross with indoor track going on, gymnastics, swimming and diving is getting wrapped up. I mean, it is just. It is hard for a content creator to keep up with it all, but I can't even imagine the organization that's behind for the SIDs that they're just trying to keep up with it. So I know they enjoy what they do, but I can imagine some of the stresses of trying to keep everybody informed and involved in what's happening. But yeah, just talking about baseball and softball. So I got an opportunity this weekend to go and sit and watch the practice, which is open to the public. I think they announced that early on, but it's not something they make a big deal about every single week, but gates are open, so they're not stopping you. You can come in. And Clint Richardson was there doing what he does for the Auburn Uniform Database. And obviously the team broke the news, but he was ready to pounce on it too, as he always is, to give his take and opinion on it. Shared out and talked about a little bit. You can follow him at the Auburn Uniform Database or Clint AU24 for his opinions about, the new uniforms that they debuted, not just for baseball, but for softball too. Your thoughts on those new blue ones that they dropped for baseball?
Yeah, pretty fascinating. Didn't expect that. Clint obviously is on top of it and had the heads up, but I love it. I love the Auburn script is prominent. I'm a big fan of the Auburn script. It's going to take me some getting used to, I think, to see it, and as of difference of what we've kind of seen in the past few years. But I do like it. I'm interested to see if maybe, and Clint, I'm sure, has touched on this or will in the future, but I'm interested to see the combinations that come of it. Clint always does a great job of breaking down Auburn's records per uniform and how well they do in this uniform as opposed to this uniform combination. So I'm interested to see kind of what things do. With baseball and softball, there's so many areas that like to be mixed around, right? The hats can be different, the helmets can be different, the socks and the belts and the pants can all be different each game, from the jerseys and the gloves and all the, I mean, there's just so much equipment that they like to change and move around. And so that's exciting to me. I'm interested to see what looks best in game, what fans tend to gravitate toward, or even the crazy combinations that we all want to see that we end up never getting to see because it's just a little too much. But it's going to be exciting, and I think the team looks good, as in fashionably, and I think they'll look good.
Like, which way you mean that one?
That's right. You look good, you play good, and that's what they're going for. So I have no doubt it'll work.
Oh, shout out too! I just thought of this. Joseph Gonzalez got something preseason. Do you remember what the award was, or the watch list he got named to? But
I don't. I
Golden Spikes, I think, is what it was. The Golden Spikes Award, I think, is. So not shocked at that. I mean, obviously he's the ace, and we have other great athlete, position players, pitchers, but obviously I think he's the name that everybody knows, or one of the big names coming back. You got Kason Howell as well, who's returning for a 5th year. Bobby Pierce is back out there. Bobby Barrels. Yep. There's big names there. Softball too's got big names returning. Bree Ellis, Bree Bombs, as they call her. She just knocks them out of the park. So my encouragement to Auburn fans is you kind of got a taste last year of how exciting when they're both doing well together. I think when I was chronicling it last year, it felt like baseball was kind of on a slow period. Softball was rising, and they never kind of meshed up exactly. But we kind of have experienced that a few times, but they're both really good and really prominent. It gets really exciting on springtime because that means potential for women's College World Series and the men's College World Series, or just being in the tournament at all. So I hope you guys will, obviously with your frustrations about football this year, with basketball in general, will try to invest in these teams, because I think they're going to be dark horses for making some noise by the end of this thing, because again, at least baseball is underappreciated and undervalued, and we saw what happened last year when they assumed that they would not be competitive and not be doing big things and making it to the College World Series. So I'm excited. Any predictions, Austin? You feeling froggy?
Oh man, not yet. I don't think I have any yet. I mean, the thing is, and we're seeing this more and more across the landscape of the SEC and college athletics, is that the SEC in every sport is a gauntlet, and it is no different. If not any other, it might be baseball and softball where that shows up the most. And so it's going to be absolutely brutal, but it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of chances to prove yourself and bolster that resume. And Kyle, we didn't even hit on this, but that's only going to get worse when Texas and Oklahoma come now officially in 2024. And so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun and frustrating and a blast to cover, I'm sure.
Listen, you know what? I'm ashamed of myself that we didn't even talk about that in Auburn Potpourri at the beginning. But we will, obviously, one of these days when we don't have two big topics to hit, we will talk about that in more detail, because I have thoughts and opinions on that. And obviously, it's not super Auburn related, but it is in how it will affect Auburn sports. So more to come on that in the future. But for now, we're going to wrap up episode 23 of the Auburn Experience podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. If you want to talk to Austin some more, where can they find you, buddy?
Please find me, Austin G. Scott. I'd love to chat about anything and everything Auburn related. And if you have any baby advice, I'm always open to that. So how about that?
Yeah, be careful what you ask for.
Crunch time is here, Kyle.
Be careful what you ask for, sir, because you will now be inundated with advice on there. Some good, some bad, I'm sure. If you want to find me for non-baby advice on Twitter, at Kyle Loomis 24, as we can hit me up, and of course follow E2C Network on all the big accounts out there, all the Instagram, Twitter, all those things, and of course here on YouTube as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 23 of the Auburn Experience podcast. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, Austin, you are free to go, sir. Thanks for hanging out with us and spending some time. Go enjoy the Super Bowl, sir.
I did see someone say, "Oh, it was Rob." That's a late tea time, Austin. I'm assuming he means because I have on a polo. I'm not going golfing. No one.
You look very golf-like right now.
No one wants to see me on a golf course ever in their entire life. That would just be a disaster. But I just didn't change when I came home from church. So
We should, and we didn't address the golf team having to go out to Hawaii, get the event canceled because of 40 to 50-mile-per-hour winds. They showed a video of the ball literally being pushed across. And I tweeted out, I said, that's a fast green.
So, yeah, sure is.
Anyway, all right, you're free to go, sir. I'll hang out with the folks for a little bit. Thanks for hanging
Everyone
out.
Enjoy your evening. Everyone enjoy your Super Bowl and all the things that come with it. Devin, she is due April 20th, but we are not going to make it that far. They've already told us that 38 weeks is probably hard stop, and we'll see if we get there. That would be around the end of March. So we're 30 weeks, and it's, whatever happens from here on out is in God's hands, and we are excited for when he'll bring them down to us.
Scott's Tots watch is in effects right now. Now we just need a song to go with it, and I think we could probably find one on the
We
internet.
did get bibs. We were given bibs that say Scott's Tots.
That'll be the episode when we announce it. Scott's Tots episode. So, all right, man.
See everybody. War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, everybody. It's just you and me now. The Auburn Experience podcast. Whoa, hello. Why is this not working? Okay, so traditionally, how this works. Sometimes usually about an hour. We're at 45 minutes now, so we'll see. If you guys have other comments or questions you'd like for me to hit on, almost like a little mini Wednesday night show, I am happy to do so. But that is completely up to you all if you want that. If not, we can just kind of wrap our show up. I just realized do I look a little dark to you guys? I think I could turn this up a notch. See, this is the great thing about watching a live show is you get to watch the sausage made sometimes. Let's see. That looks a little better. Okay. So yeah, anything that we didn't hit on that you'd like to mention. Trey, we did see your comment during the middle of that about it being a 94-foot putt for the guy to win the car. So thank you for that. Even though we don't interact with you guys a lot, we do watch the chat because sometimes if we forget something, you guys help us kind of spark our memory. So we do monitor it, but we're trying to focus mainly on discussing things here. So Devin loves the uniforms. Can't wait to see the team on the field. Well, softball's out there, baseball's out there. Really excited for them. I don't know what unbeaten lake means by this. Did something happen that I missed? Did we shoot down an alien spacecraft? I don't know. Question for Kyle. At gymnastics meets, are the events going at the same time for both teams? Because on TV, they switch off events. Is that how it is in person, or is there a delay for the feed? No, so they are going at the same time, but the person will not perform when I say going, like they're preparing, there's other things happening that have to happen to prepare for them to actually perform the athletic event or feat or whatever it is. So if vault and bars are happening at the same time. So someone will vault. As soon as they get done, the other person, they'll announce them and they go onto their bars. They'll wait for the person to finish the bars and then vault will continue. So it is literally at the same time, but they make sure there's no distractions for the athlete actually performing that specific event happening. So same thing, they'll do that. Everybody will complete and then they'll flip flop. So like Auburn's always starts on vault at home. Then they'll do bars and then the other team's doing the opposite of that. Then they'll completely switch over. The home team, being Auburn in this situation, will go do balance beam, and then they'll end on floor while the other team was doing floor beam, vice versa. So interchanging at the same time is the answer to in both ways to that question. I think I answered your question. If not, let me know if you'll need to clarify. Kyle, one of my neighbors is a Bama grad. Met his family. His daughter is named Alabama. I mean, that's what Harvey Updike named. I walked off fast because I was about to laugh. Those are not the Allie. If Bama's her middle name, at least she can hide that. But if it's actually Alabama as her first name, that's awful. People naming it Bear, all that kind of stuff. That just. Now we have people. So I'll pull the curtain back for you guys. I want to name. Well, actually, I'm not going to bring that up. There's a certain player that y'all know that I'm very fond of that I want to name my child after, but I'm not having very much luck in that category. Whenever Jessica and I do get blessed with children. Austin said, here's Austin. He says, came downstairs after I left to start cleaning up. I kid you not, my computer fell off the bed. I got to figure out a better solution. I hope the computer's okay. And I hate that we didn't watch it happen live. Uh-oh. First name Allie, middle name Bama. It's okay. It's better than it could be, but it's still bad, right? I would basically venture any Bama fans out there that want my advice, do not associate yourself in any way with Harvey Updike. That is not who you want to be, matched up with when people talk about. Computer's all okay. It was just a loud noise. All right, good. But again, I hate that we missed that. That makes sense. It's so we're talking about the gymnastics meet again. Is it different when there are more than 2 teams in the meet? Yes. So the 4 events. So there's 4 events. So they'll never do more than 4, right? So those 4 events will all be happening at the same time, but they'll actually, I shouldn't say that I know that for a fact. I've never been to a 4-team meet because those are usually like at the national level or at a big early season thing like Auburn went to out in Las Vegas. So my assumption is that no event will, the person on vault, the person on bars, the person on floor, the person on beam will all stack, meaning one goes as soon as they finish, the other goes, and so on and so forth. That's why you see those take a little bit longer. Maybe there is a little bit more intersection there in some areas, but I would imagine the floor routine is so loud that they have to kind of let them go by themselves so they don't distract the others. Unfortunately, I don't know that specific thing. Who am I rooting for in the Puppy Bowl? I quite frankly didn't even know there was a Puppy Bowl. I mean, I knew they at least used to do that. I will say Team Rough because it sounds like a dog. Team Fluff sounds more like cats. Even though I do have a cat that I love very much. She's not in the room right now. Clint calls her Podcat. Bama fans, they have grads? They are odd. Very, very odd. All right. Keep your comments and questions coming. We'll take a last few of them. Let me give you a reminder of what's to come here on E2C Network. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to pull the curtain back. So there has been a lower interest in the Good Morning Auburn shows as of late. I know part of that's just general interest in Auburn stuff right now because it's kind of going low. But here's what I'm thinking about doing. I don't want to just cold turkey stop it, but you may not see them as regular, meaning every Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but maybe live as some of those if I feel like it's a big topic that I want to hit or something like that. But we probably will try to have on somewhat regular some small topic videos for you to watch in the morning about 8:30 just to kind of get you going through the days. Still kind of figuring that out, but it does look like we've lost a little bit of the interest in Good Morning Auburn, the live stream for now. So I'm going to have to adjust and pivot just a little bit. So my advice to you is just bear with me while we try to figure out what that looks like. I would just say always be ready. And my goal is to probably get you something at 8:30 most days if there's something that is worth talking about. But the next scheduled live stream that you want to be ready for is that post-game reaction stream for the Missouri game Tuesday night. But don't forget, we have coming up Auburn Family Night on the 15th, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's just like this show. We can just hang out and talk about whatever you want to discuss and call into the show. Check out those links in the description. Subscribers are going to be part of this giveaway we have coming up hopefully soon. We're starting to kind of get a few more towards our goal. We might be adjusting that goal a little bit soon, because I know it's been lingering on a little bit longer than we thought it would. Never know, though. Let's see what kind of steam we pick up here in the near future. Channel membership program, a booster club program. Those are ways that you can help support us for $1 a month. One is specific to YouTube. One is just a general place, the booster club, if you want to help keep the lights on here. We also have other links in the description you can check out to help us out, or you can just hang out with us, be part of the little family within the Auburn family called the E2C Network family, and smash the like button. The biggest thing you can do is tell a friend, get them here to a live stream, to a video, to follow us on social media. I've pitched this before. I'm really wanting to get something just went wrong on my little thing I'm monitoring here. The Instagram account up to 1,000. We're about 840 right now. There's a big thing that happens for content creators when you get to 1,000. So if you guys are Instagram people, know people on Instagram that are Auburn fans, have them follow us if you can. This would be a huge help. All right, so that's my announcements for you. We'll take some last minute comments and questions here. Bo says that would be like me naming my daughter Aubrey Tiger or Aubrey Tiger. See, you can name. So here's the thing: you can do plays off of words for your kid's name, but Alabama, that's too obvious. Aubrey, I actually know someone that was named Aubrey because their family was Auburn fans, but you would never know that unless she actually says so. Aubrey, Austin, whatever. If as long as it's something that naturally already occurs, you'll never know. You can name your kid Bo. Most people will probably ask you if you're an Auburn fan that know you, especially if you're amongst Auburn circles, but there's a way to get around that. Patty, Bo, Darvell, Patty Die. Wow, my goodness. Or Huta Freeze. What? No, listen, Devin. So me adjusting the live stream has no one should ever apologize for not watching or commenting or anything like that. You guys, I'm just thankful that you're here. But because as a content creator, I have to kind of help work with the health of a YouTube channel. When they continue to see them doing not well, to continue to produce the same thing that's not doing as well kind of hurts you a little bit. So that's why I have to adjust when the general populace, you guys that are here a lot, that I see your names pop up a lot, no one has anything to apologize for. But there are things that I have to make decisions on when I see it's not doing as well as it could. I'll be honest with you, the post-game reaction shows, because there's so many others that do them now, they're kind of getting eaten up, and I'm kind of not, this is not me saying we're getting rid of the post-game reaction shows, but I'm having to kind of start tossing around some ideas of what we can do to spice that up, make that better, because those are starting to hurt too. It's just because it's a crowded market now. And some bigger players have moved into the space when they used to not be there. I don't fault them for that in any way, but it's just the reality of what it is. Neil, what odds are you giving Auburn to make the tournament? Right now, 75%. 75%. Now, that could change very drastically in the next few days. Just because, how they perform this next easier stint. If they take care of business here, if they get one of the three big games at the end that are going to be so tough to get, and they have a good performance in the SEC tournament, which I think are all likely, they're in by the skin of their teeth. But the margin of error has now shrunk so small, not to the smallest it could be, but to so small. So I'm going to still say 75%, because I think this team hasn't reached its full potential yet. I think we saw shades of that this past game. Shades of it, but not fully. Seems like the best. Listen, it's like I tell everybody, and it's true in the TV world, the radio world, print world. Sex, drugs, and death, and unhappy stuff sells better. And I had someone, I forget who it was, that I was talking with about it here on a live stream. They didn't believe me. I was like, just go look at the numbers. Someone gets fired, everybody wants to talk about it. So unfortunately, being a channel that focuses on enjoying things to talk about, those don't draw people in as much. So it's great to have such a committed core group, like a lot of you guys that are here, at least as consistently as you can be. You are the heart and soul behind what we do. But yes, we get a lot of and I'm not anyway knocking them, because if we're not their thing to cover on or follow on the regular, I understand that we're not for everybody. But that's when you see the big numbers come up, is things like that. So we will not hopefully be firing a head coach in football, basketball, baseball for a while. So there won't be much of that happening, but it is what it is. Scandalous misconduct. First or second round exit in the tournament. Yeah, I could see that happening based on how we're performing right now. And if we get into the tournament in the place that we probably would be, yeah. But I think we make the tournament right now. So that's kind of what I feel about it right now. All right. Again, reminder as we round out here, hope to see you guys on Tuesday, post-game reaction stream. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Tell a friend, bring them in. Auburn Family live stream, call in. Don't miss that. We're going to be finally getting back on a regular schedule with that. We have one other basketball game coming up that's going to interfere with that. But after that point, it looks like Wednesday nights are going to be pretty good going forward, even during baseball season. What else? Just be on standby for this week with the Good Morning Auburn schedule. 8:30. There probably will be some live streams, but maybe not as consistently Monday through Friday. At least some content. And I have a vlog video from this weekend that hopefully I'll have it ready for you guys to watch at 8:30 tomorrow about the whole experience this week. It's pretty cool. I hope you guys will watch that. But regardless, you guys are the best little family within the Auburn family. And I appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time, being a part of that family. Until we talk to you again on the next edition of the Auburn Experience podcast. War Eagle.